Hello, YouTube land. How is everybody doing? Hopefully great. Well, folks, I have a story that's about 47 years ago, and, well, I'll share it during a fireside chat. This story takes place in the summer of 1976, putting me at about the age of 15. So, grab a log, a chair, a rock, and let's sit around the campfire. Back in the summer of 1976, my best friend Chris and I had a little altercation with Mr. Demeo over a particular domesticated goose. The Christmas of 1975, I had got a brand new Crosman Pumpmaster 760 pellet BB rifle. I was so proud of that gun. I hunted frogs, squirrels, birds, and I got to be an excellent aim with that gun. Jumping back to the summer of 76, Chris and I were making our way down Butternut Creek, heading to our old stomping grounds, the Hagues. But before we got there, we ran across Mr. Demeo's geese. Well, the story goes that Chris said they flew, so that means they're not domesticated, and he dared me to shoot one in the neck. And Chris didn't think I could. Well, who am I to turn down a dare, right? As I pumped up my Pumpmaster 10 pumps, which was the maximum amount of pumps you're allowed to do, I said, I bet I can, and I did. I broke the neck of that goose, and its head was in the water, swimming in circles. About that time, Mr. Demeo showed up and seen the goose and asked if we were shooting at his geese. We said no, we were shooting frogs. Then Mr. Demeo asked what was wrong with the goose I shot, and I said he was getting a drink of water. Now, Mr. Demeo didn't say much, walked away, and we proceeded to walk down the creek heading to the Hagues. We hunted squirrels all day and walked through the marsh and the muck and the beaver dams and the woods and everything, like we had done 100 times before, and not even thinking about what had taken place earlier. Several hours went by, and we were getting hungry and tired, so we headed back home. And on our way back home, we ran into another friend, Bobby, who was in the woods near our home on Butternut Creek. And Bobby informed us that Mr. Demeo was looking for us, and that Chris's dad had been told what had happened. So I remember getting home, eating a sandwich, and was in the process of fixing me a bowl of ice cream when the doorbell rang and I could see Chris's dad standing at the door. Now, Chris's dad was a retired county sheriff and at the time a dispatcher for the fire department. He could be kind of intimidating, but I always liked him. He was a stand-up guy and a great dad. So I answered the door, knowing this was not good. Chris's dad asked to talk to my dad. I could see Chris in his dad's truck with his head down and not looking happy. I knew the axe was ready to fall. Now I got my dad. He came to the door and invited Chris's dad into the house, where he informed my dad that Chris and I had killed Mr. Demeo's goose and that he was not happy about it. The look my dad gave me was death. I knew I was in trouble. Chris's dad told my father, I don't know how you're going to handle this, but I'm going to take my son to apologize to Mr. Demeo, and he's going to give Mr. Demeo his pellet gun. My dad said, that sounds like a good idea. Can we catch a ride with you? As soon as Chris's dad said yes, my dad turned to me and told me to go grab my pellet gun. Chris and I rode in the bed of his father's truck. I don't really remember saying anything to Chris on that ride. Now that day is burned into my memory, but that truck ride I do not remember much, other than regret and that I may very well lose my pride and joy. I remember thinking, wishful thinking, that Mr. Demeo would not accept our guns, but no such luck. Now, we both apologized and said, here's my gun, and that I'm sorry. And when I got home, I was grounded. Now, I had taken my hunter's safety earlier that year and was planning on going hunting in the fall. But my dad said I was not responsible enough yet and would have to wait until the next following season. Ouch. That did not go as planned. About a year or so later, Chris called me up and said Mr. Demeo had dropped off our guns and to come over and get mine. I remember getting excited, but Chris said, "Don't get too excited. They're all rusted," because they were kept outside in the carport the whole time. My gun never worked right after that. It would never hold any air pressure from the pumps, and also the rear sight ramp was missing. So I was going through my gun safe today, and I ran across that gun. I still have it to this very day, in the shape that it was when I got it back from Mr. Demeo. Now, I never bothered to fix it, and both my kids know the story behind that gun, and I often used it as a deterrent for my kids making bad choices as children, and don't let friends talk you into doing something when you know it's wrong. Now, if you asked any of my children to tell you about the Goose story and their father, they'll know what you're asking. Well, today, some 47 years later, I just ordered the parts to fix that old Crosman Pump Master 760 pre-July 1975 model, and I will be sanding and hot bluing the barrel, basically restoring it to what it was on that fateful trip with Chris on Butternut Creek. And oh, a side note, I never got that bowl of ice cream. It was melted by the time I got back from my trip to Mr. Demeo's. Well, I guess it's time to call it a night. The fire's burning out, and, well, you guys probably want to go to bed before I, start shooting my pellet gun? Anyway, you guys have a great day and a better tomorrow. God bless.